So today we got a question from Danny who says, kind of weird request, but how about some tips for eating right now since everybody's going to be bored sitting around the house, eating bad food they shouldn't be? Any tips on that? So Danny, thanks for the question, brother. And I don't think it's weird at all. Like when I was preparing the at-home training resource that I provided for free for anyone, if you guys want it, it's down in the links below. One of the sections I put in that was dieting because it's very, very important. And it's one of the things that I have butchered completely. Like back in 2007, I came back to training 30 pounds overweight. It was not a good 30 pounds. It was 30 pounds of solid fat, a small toddler's weight worth of fat sitting around my stomach, which then meant that when I got back to training, I was out of shape, I was overweight, had to start dropping my calories, eating less food. Meanwhile, I'm trying to up my activity level and up my training. Not a fun place to be. It's miserable. Then in 2014, I did some things, and I'll talk about a few of those in just a second. I did some things that, while I couldn't train because of a couple injuries, literally because of a nose break and a meniscus tear, couldn't really train that much, couldn't even do much exercise. My weight came down. I actually lost weight during a layoff, which again, it wasn't a good thing because I lost a little bit of muscle, but I was able to get that back pretty easily. And when I came back to training, I was out of shape. But when I started to increase my activity level up, I didn't have to drop my food. In fact, I increased my food, so they went hand in hand together. That's a much better place to be, I promise. And so I'll give you a few tips, Danny, that'll hopefully be useful to you and anybody else that's out there in quarantine and doesn't want to gain too much weight while you're sitting on the shelf waiting for the gyms to reopen. So the first big one, man, that I think would be really useful to you, especially when you're talking about boredom eating, is don't buy the food you don't want to eat. It's as simple as that. I think people sometimes kid themselves on their ability to have willpower when it comes to food. Again, when you're talking about packaged junk food and stuff, this stuff is not like, you don't find it anywhere in nature, right? It's engineered to make you want more of it. Like I was reading about this. It's wild when you look at it. Like for instance, with a potato chip, those potato chips are like, they are engineered to have the exact amount of pounds per square inch for the crunch to make you go, I like that crunch. And then they kind of dissolve in your mouth, so this way you never feel full. And then like with a lot of them, they have multiple flavors going on at the same time, so you never get too much of it, because in nature, if you eat potatoes, or if you eat steak, or if you eat like a piece of fruit, eventually you're like, I've had enough, right? Your body's like, I don't want any more of this. But they combine all these flavors to make you just constantly eat. So again, you're getting this concoction that's engineered, right? And even when you're talking about other stuff that's maybe just sugary, like ice cream and stuff like that, again, that sugar is addictive, bro. Like they did those studies with, rats, where like they gave the rats cocaine or sugar. They took the sugar. It's insane. And again, I know we're not rats, but still, just an idea. And for me, like whenever whenever I go grocery shopping, I don't buy that stuff. Unless I want to eat it, I don't buy it. In fact, in our home, we don't have anything like that. And if Jess and I want to go get ice cream, for instance, just because that's one of the things I like, we will actually go to the ice cream store. I get those people to ration it out on me, put it into a cone or a bowl or whatever I want to eat it in that day, and they hand it to me, I eat it. And because it's too much trouble, I'm not going to go up and get seconds. But if I go home and I try to be economical and I get the big tub of ice cream, I will sit and just go into that thing. I have no willpower. I understand this. And again, I'm going to make my space around me work to support me, so I don't buy anything that I could possibly eat that I don't want to eat on a regular basis. And so I would encourage you to do the same. And it's a pretty good tip to take with you even after the quarantine's over. The next thing, man, is I would say meal prepping. From my experience as a coach, and I've seen a lot of people with this, my students, I've seen this with a lot of people, they sometimes prioritize training, lifting weights, instructional videos, all the training stuff up here in front, and then in the back somewhere is diet, right? It's out there. It's just kind of an afterthought. But to think about it this way, man, it's like your body is a machine. If you give it good fuel, it's probably going to run better, right? If you've got a high performance car out there and you give it crappy fuel, it's probably not going to run great, and your body's the same way. And a lot of times when I get some of my students to start changing their diet, and again, diets can be different, everybody's got their opinions on diet. All I'm saying is taking a conscious approach to it and making food that you actually have to prepare. When I get people to do that, it never fails. A week, 2 weeks, whatever, they'll come up to me and say, man, I feel amazing. My weight's going down, my strength's going up, I'm performing better when I'm training, I don't need that fourth cup of coffee to get through the day, I don't need that nap in the middle of the day, I feel great, right? They feel amazing because they changed their diet. And again, imagine that, you gave yourself good fuel. And so one of the things I would say, if you're not already doing it, start meal prepping and take a conscious approach and a conscious control of what you're eating day to day. Plus, if you're talking about just kind of eating out of boredom or eating out of just impulse, if you go into your kitchen and your meals are prepared, it doesn't take as much willpower, right? Because again, if you've got the packaged food over there and you have food that needs to be prepared, you're probably going to go the wrong route. But if it's already ready for you, just go in there, boom, heat the food up, eat it, and you're good to go. And eating a good solid meal also will keep some of those hunger pains down because you're eating a solid meal rather than snacking on some junk or out of boredom eating, right? The last thing I would tell you to do, and this was helpful to me in 2014 when I couldn't really exercise much, and that's fasting. Now, back in 2014, I didn't call it fasting. I was just thinking about skipping breakfast. Intermittent fasting wasn't as popular as it is now. I was just skipping breakfast and trying to keep my calories low. But again, it's a cool thing to do, one, because obviously you are keeping your calories low because you're skipping a meal, but also you are exercising some control over your eating habits, right? Because eating sometimes can be like an itch. So for instance, if you get an itch, next time you get an itch on your nose, or anywhere, just do this as a test. If you get an itch, like say in your nose, literally, it feels like your body's going crazy to get you to scratch that thing if you don't scratch it, right? It feels like every muscle in your body is just waiting to go up there to scratch that thing. But if you don't scratch that itch, it goes away. Right? The feeling of it, the sensation of that itch goes away, and then boom, it goes away. Eating pains can be like that. So for instance, I don't like to fast on days where I'm really active. I like to do it in typically days when I'm inactive. And what will happen is when I wake up on one of those inactive days, my body immediately is like, breakfast, I want breakfast. And initially I have those hunger pains. And then, a little bit later, they go away. They kind of just pass, and then I keep going about my work, and I get some of my best creative work done during those hours of fasting. But they go away. And again, to me, that's important because that's taking some conscious control and separating yourself from those impulses. So then, when you get ready to boredom eat, you're like, am I eating because I'm hungry and I need to eat? Or am I eating out of boredom? You can sort of discern what's going on, and you're taking, again, a conscious approach to your eating rather than just scarfing down on something because you're bored sitting around the house. And I think that fasting is a good way to, again, keep the calories low, but also encourage you to be more conscious about what you're eating. So hopefully those tips are helpful to you, brother. Again, I have more of those, Danny. So again, if you want more tips, check the link down below for that resource that I prepared for you guys. It's free. All you got to do is just register on the website. And again, hopefully it's useful to you guys. But hopefully those tips, those were really important to me in 2014 when I lost the weight and came into training a little bit lighter and, able to eat more food and get back after it. But again, those are useful to me. So anyway, done talking. Thank you so much for the question, Danny. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully this quarantine thing doesn't last too much longer. And I'll talk to you guys next time.